Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, nieces and nephews, to another episode of Too Good to Be Drew. I'm your host, Drew Davis. And today we have a very special guest, my friend, my dog, my consigliere, Ed Jones II, aka Two Sticks. And he's doing some great things in the player development space. He's the founder of Beyond the Field, and he's been director of player development at the University of Houston, the University of Kansas, and also Baylor University. And my bad, that wasn't just his title at the University of Baylor. He's also been an associate AD. So don't let me shortchange him on his accolades and everything that he's accomplished. But he's an awesome, awesome dude. We've grown to be great friends since we both worked at the college level. And I can't wait to tap in and to let the world know more about Ed Jones as we connect through friendship and then also just sitting down to talk. So without further ado, welcome to the show, my boy, Ed Jones II. Man, we doing good things now. We got an audience applause to bring you in. We got. If I was Funk Flex, I'd drop a bomb. If I was Oprah, I'd give out Olipop left and right and
come on, Olipops
on the grill. Come on, sponsor us, Olipop. Ed Jones, welcome to the show, bro.
What's up, y'all? Labor Day weekend. You know what I'm saying? Drew using consigliere, the SAT words, man. My 10th grade teacher I'd have been in the back like, "Hey, Miss LaFleur, what you said? What congressional? No, I said consigliere, Ed." I said, man, hold on. Let me get official. Let me go grab this mic and these headphones. I can get all this in my ears.
Bro, don't worry. I just learned that word a couple years ago. I drop it in every now and then, here and there. But like I said, man, I just always, when I have a guest on, I always tell everybody how I met my guest. And we actually go back. So this ain't something that just popped up. Ed Jones was, at the time, he was director of player development. You weren't at Houston, were you?
No, I was at Kansas, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ed Jones is at Kansas, and it's kind of crazy because when we went through the pandemic, there was I knew about you a little bit before because you bump into people on LinkedIn a little bit, or you just know who the other directors of player development are. But you decided as we're going through player development, man, let me get everybody together to talk about what we're going through, to see the pain points, to see where they're different, to see where they're the same, to see how we can work together. And that was one of the very first creative things you did to bring directors of player development together, because we didn't really have a community. There's FCA, is it FCA? Yeah, there's
AFCA.
AFCA.
Yeah.
The coaching conference that happens every year where there's high school coaches, NFL coaches, college coaches, just everybody coming into one place. But there's not that in the development space. But you kind of started to create that and cultivate that within the pandemic, man. And so that's how me and Ed met. And honestly, and it's funny, me and Ed still ain't even met in person.
Man. I remember the first time I was supposed to meet you in person. My job, I was going to LA, and they told me I wasn't going to LA the next day. I'm like, hey, man, let's go grab some food, man. We got all this planned. And they like, oh, you ain't going to LA. You going to Detroit. I was like, love Detroit, nothing against Detroit. But I was like, hey, I want to see my boy.
He wanted to see his boy, and he also wanted to get his tan on, see some palm trees, probably go to the beach, because that's how Ed and find the good eat spots, eat spots. So Ed Jones.
That's some good ones, man.
But man, let's dive in, bro. So we talk about the whole journey, but we're gonna jump right in, man. You just celebrated 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Wow.
Man, let me. Do they got a Funk Flex bomb in here? Okay, nah.
I'll hit the robot for y'all. Robot 1,000.
Bro, 1,000 followers in a couple years. And so as we talk about that, man, was that ever the goal for you to get to 1,000 followers? And just talk about starting the journey on YouTube.
Yeah, no, it was never the goal. It was just the journey on YouTube. Actually, when I started podcasting, YouTube was I put no effort towards YouTube. I was like, everything was towards the audio podcast. And I was in a coaching group. Shout out to Jonathan Jones, who you know. And one of the people in the group at the time, she kept saying, you need to use YouTube. You need to use YouTube. You need to use YouTube. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so I started doing stuff on YouTube, and it grew, but I still didn't think 1,000. I was just like, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But it picked up, I think I did the stats there somewhere. Yeah, I got them in my head. Here they go. Oh, yeah, stats. So, 2022, we had 98 subscribers. So I was just excited to get close to 100. And then 2023 hit 243 in that year. 2024, 443 people came. And then this year, 215. So it really didn't hit me till I got to like the 800s. I was like, hold on now, we might be able to do this, but I was thinking it would take some time. And so to me, it's pretty cool because it's organic. You know me, man. I'm gonna talk about what I know. I talk about developing athletes, and you watch these YouTube gurus, or I even, I've paid for some different deals and they'll tell you do this to get click rate. I'm like, look, I need to help the people, right? And so I'm excited because it happened. Now your boy was sitting on 998, man. I was sitting on that bad boy like a pancake. I was like, yeah, man, come on, man. Where the two people at? But I wanted also for it to be genuine. I didn't want to be like, hey, call my mama and tell her to get the people from the prayer group. Hey, can you get two of them to subscribe? But no, it's really good. Like, I think it hit me when I did the episode. I was pretty raw on the episode I did to celebrate it. So I had all these notes. And then I just was like, man, forget them notes. I'm about to just go. Because it's like, man, that's a 3-year journey of just showing up for people consistently, at least a week, once every week. So yeah, it's one of the things you hear like 1,000 and like people are trying to like, this is how you can get to 1,000 in 60 days. And like, you know, if that happens, that happens. But it was a good journey because I learned a lot.
That's one thing, man, when you talk, and shout out to Jonathan Jones. We both sat here and got some coaching by Jonathan Jones, and that's why you're sitting here listening to my podcast and tapped into me, because he was a person that was like, hey man, go do it. You can always find a reason not to. You're not going to be perfect. It's not going to be right when you first start. You might not have the best microphone computer set up, but you got this phone, and that's where you can start. So shout out to John Jones. No relation to Ed Jones or Mike. But
Mike Jones, yes. But you can call him at 281-330-8004. You can call.
Get your boy up on the low. And so as we just talk about that, man, you so you start with YouTube. You just celebrated 1,000 episodes. You said you wanted to be organic, even though you're like, hey, mama, hey, in the prayer group, just had them old lady just press that subscribe button one time. I'm posting stuff for you because I love to see people around me win, especially good people. But it's crazy you started this journey with no real numbers in mind as far as you wanted to do. You kind of started with the idea of who you wanted to reach, and that helped power you to 1,000. Why are you so passionate about player development?
I think it's a lot of reasons. Number one, like I had to be growing up. I had to be like, so my older brother's 7 years older than me, and it's 4 of us together, kind of in this like 2-year apart pod, right? So it's like 5 of us, but it's like 4 of us that are close. So I kind of had to become a big brother. So it was always like developing people, and I've always had a heart. My parents have just always been like, you got to help people out, right? And so when I played, I realized now, me and you have talked about my playing career. Definitely could have been better than I thought. If I'd have took care of some stuff in the classroom and just ran a sprint or two more. But I would see my teammates, and I was like, bro, how you that good and you just can't figure this stuff out, right? And then I got to coaching. I was like, you know what? I want to help athletes. So when I got to college, my story. I walked on the University of Houston. They didn't pick me. Perfect. So I had homeboys that was on the team, and I used to be like, bro, these guys kind of walk around here with no direction. Like, the world is their oyster right now, and they're just kind of just whatever. And so I started coaching, and I was like, this is the way to impact athletes, coaching. I'm going to be a head coach, and I'll impact the whole entire team. Got hired at the University of Houston in 2016 and was welcomed to this role of player development. And I was like, oh, I can impact the entire team and had nothing to do with playing time, right? And so I dove into it, really have a passion for it, because you get to see, and it takes a while. You know how it is, man. Whenever you're developing people, like, it ain't no instant. This ain't like a strength coach can see instant gains. Well, not instant, but in a month, my bench can go up 20 pounds. Academics can see a gain, right? Dietitian can see a gain, because the guy can lose or gain weight in a month, right? Everybody can see, a coach can see a gain. Ed Jones keep going down the wrong pass rush lane, and then finally I go, you get to see it over time. So you get to see people mature, and then you get to continue to challenge them and grow. So I dove into it, and I really, really enjoyed it, because I was like, oh, this is my passion. I love this stuff, right? But I started communicating a lot of it, because in 2016, when I first got the job, I was sitting in their office like, but what like, what do I do? We in staff meetings, they're like, Ed, what's going on, And I'm like, oh, the guys are doing good. And everybody busts out laughing. It's like, of course they're doing good, Ed. Like, what are they doing, right? So for me, I'm like, all right, I don't want nobody to feel that way. And I know that there's passionate people that want to make impact. And I made impact through relationship, but there's so much more you can do outside of relationship. Like, you can be strategic. And so that's why I'm passionate about it. You've seen the chart I have. I got like 180 podcast episodes. But anyway, let me stick to your question. I love player development because you get to create generational impact. You get to impact this person, and that person impacts the next person. And so that's kind of the big reason why.
Nah, you're good, man. Like you said, this guest appearance is for everything. We're good friends, so we start talking about one thing, and we end up way over here on this island, and that's all good. And I think the biggest thing, what I didn't do is I didn't drop it, but you want to follow Ed Jones, it'll be in the show notes. You can find him at Beyond the Field. He got the Player Development Pod available through Apple and on YouTube and Spotify. You on Spotify?
I am,
Yeah,
and they
he's
can
on
also
Spotify.
find me at a local Costco eating samples. So they could just they want to find me there. You follow me there.
You can follow him through the Costco Chronicles when you follow him
Costco
on
Chronicles, baby.
IG. Hey, I love when he do that. But you made a very important point. I'm gonna catch people up a little bit. You
Yeah,
actually you were a coach in high school. You were a teacher in high
yeah,
school at the high school level. You got brought into player development. First stop was Houston. You didn't know what you were doing in the role. You kind of were able to look around. And like you said, and why you do a lot of what you do now is because there was no real roadmap. There was no guidebook on what player development is. And sometimes the majority of people that get in that player development position are former players at the
absolutely.
college or the NFL level. So they kind of know about that transition, or they kind of know what they need to be giving people at this level. But you spoke about some things. You said, I saw that guys had no direction.
Yeah,
And I think for me, and I'll speak for myself personally, a guy who played football since he was 8, it wasn't that I wasn't good at other things. It's just that I never had people push me towards other things, like in that
absolutely.
big capacity that I was focused on with football. And I think a big reason why I got into player development was because I had great mentors in my life. I had a great director of player development at the University of Oregon. His name was
Yeah,
James Harris, but somebody who saw interest in me even after I got hurt. Like after I
right,
tore my ACL my sophomore year and I didn't know what I was doing with my career, he kind of put his arm around me and said, hey, come to this community service event. Okay,
right.
hey, stop by my office today so we can talk about this. And I saw he was young, he was black, he had a wife, he had a kid, like the
Yeah,
guy that you're kind of like, and he was cool. Like,
yeah,
and I think that's the thing that people forget about player development. Like, they're looking for somebody, and not to say necessarily like an uncle, but you're not a
right.
coach, but you're
Absolutely.
not a player,
Right.
but you're there to help them every step of the way. What did you enjoy most about player development?
I think it's what you just mentioned right there, the relationships. Like you're in, I get to, in a perfect world, or when I was in it, now it's a different deal. But when me and you were in it, it wasn't a transfer. It wasn't, rosters weren't as transient as they are now. So you could literally meet someone, a young man at 15 who came to your camp, won the scholarship, and they want to come to your school. So they come every year till they get the scholarship. So these kids 15, they come to camp 16. They come 17, they finally get the scholarship. Then 18, they're on campus. 19. So you build this relationship not only with the player, but with the family as well. And for me, it was the relationships. It was the every single day I got to build relationships with the players, the staff, all that, and the entire team, right? And you know how it is. There's a spectrum to the team. You got a group of guys that get it, right? I'm here for you if you have any questions, but you don't need me, right? Then you got the group of guys that you got to hold their hand for the first, at least a semester, right? And then you got the middle guys who they don't know if you need them, right? And you gotta, you gotta go in there and you gotta make those relationships. I read, and I know we're gonna talk about books, but Urban Meyer's book, he had, and I worked for Tom Herman, who worked for Urban Meyer. So there was this thing he would always say: it's the 10-80-10. 10% of the guys, they get it. You don't need it. They're good. They're grown. They got it. 10% are knuckleheads. You got to walk with them. And then that 80% is the most impressionable group because they can go either way. And so I love that 80, that okay, you got good grades, but you don't know where you're going with these grades. Or you trying to get good grades and you know where you want to go, but you don't understand how the off the field helps you on the field, right? And so it was the relationships, man. That's the biggest thing. Like I still get hit up by players to this day. One of my players, I think one of the happiest moments I had was a player who, and you know how it is, Drew. You trying to do programming, that player ain't gonna show up. You know they need it, and you try your best not to call them out. I'm in the front of the room. Now, most of y'all need this, right? Looking at the player. And so it's crazy because he didn't activate our programming, and I was learning what player development is, but he called me last year and was like, hey, I want to do player development because if I know anything, when you came in, you were the same person, you were positive, and if we had a problem, you would do your best to figure it out. So I love the relationships, man. That's the biggest thing. Because I tell people all the time, they're like, well, who makes it hard? Is it the players or the adults? I'm like, the player, they kids. I mean, they not kids, but you know what I mean. Like they gonna do some stupid stuff. I did stupid stuff from 18 to 23, right? I think back like that was stupid, right? So, but you're there to help them grow, right? It's the adults. Now you 45, you gotta stop. Let me stop. But you can't be doing this. That's stupid. But no, man, the biggest thing I enjoyed about it was the relationships and seeing people grow. I think sometimes as I got older in it, I think I learned this lesson at Kansas. Shout out to Lauren Hawkins. I was so program heavy that there was a player that just wanted to come in, and he came in and he dropped something off for me. I was like, hey, thank you. And she was like, Ed Jones, he wants to talk to you. I was like, you don't want to talk to me. He came in, he dropped it, She's like, he wants to talk to you. So I text him, hey man, come check me out. And then he's in my room for an hour and a half. Like, so I remember, like, it's the relationships, right? It's just they just want to talk, right? And so I miss that. If I miss anything, it's the everyday relationships, and that's what I love the most.
Man, I love how you said that. You said it's about the everyday relationships.
Yeah,
And like I said, we're not a coach, we're not a player, we're not like, admin, like, like we get to tightrope that fine line between
absolutely,
being at practice, being in the weight room, getting a workout in, being down in the locker room with them, being at training camp with them, or
absolutely.
train in the training room with them, or training room and then training table. My bad, I'm over here
Yeah,
tripping.
no, you
Um,
good.
and you get all these different touch points with them, and everybody operates different. You know that
Absolutely,
I can catch this player in the training room because they're here early, or I can catch this person in the weight room because they lift twice a day, or they're trying to gain weight, so they're here.
right,
Or hey, this person hangs out at a training table a lot longer because he has classes later in the day, or he's a grad student, so he ain't on the same schedule everybody's on. So there's this tightrope, but also this juggling act, and you have 100+ players to keep tabs on. And
yes,
usually there's only one of us. You might have an assistant, you might have an intern or something like that.
might,
Um,
yeah,
but it was interesting. You said about the relationship part, but like you get to see things in these young men too.
right,
And for me, like I said, I had great mentors. So one day we're eating at training table at UCLA, and I'm over here. I kind of sit in the corner mostly, but I'm
yeah,
watching everything that's going on. I'm watching who sits with who. I'm watching who's friends with who. Like all that stuff matters in this position.
absolutely,
And
absolutely,
and that day we had Carrie Champion was on campus. Carrie Champion graduated
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
UCLA, and she had her a girls group that she mentors that was coming to UCLA, and she brought them to the football building to eat training table with us. And so they're over there doing their thing, but she walks in and she introduces herself to a couple of our young players, and they're sitting down. She walks up to them, and she's a TV personality, so
right,
they move a different way, but like this is also her university that she went to.
right,
And so she walks up to their table and she says, "Hi guys, I'm Carrie. It's just nice to meet you." And she shakes their hand. Not one of my players stood up while shaking her hand. And so
bro,
me, I'm over there. I'm like, are we either sick or dead? What
right, right,
are
right.
we
What is
doing?
going on? Yeah,
And so, but that's also just a teaching moment. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I'm like, yo, you know who that is? Like you want her to remember you, but you're putting forth yourself, but you're
absolutely,
also putting forth UCLA football. Carrie
right,
Champion could leave there and be like, man, I went and shook these players' hands and none of them
absolutely,
got up. Like, I didn't have to do that. Like, do they know who I am? Like on some KD stuff. Do
yeah,
they
yeah,
know
yeah,
who I am? You know who I am?
right, right, right.
But that didn't happen in that instance, and that's the kind of impact that we have. And so when I'm talking about that and hear you talk about relationships, and that is so major. Like it's changed so much, and we're not trying to sit here and sound like old heads and be like,
Yeah,
back in my day when we was
yeah, yeah,
player to
yeah,
development. But you bring up a great point in that it's a lot different these days. We used to have a chance to meet a person freshman, sophomore year in high school, be with them into college level for 3 or 4 years, see their growth and see their maturation. And now it's like it's NFL free agency. You got a guy that might be coming in for a year, or you
yeah,
got recruits that are coming in every weekend, and you have to match those numbers. I know you haven't been you were around a little bit when that was going on, when the
right.
transfer was picking up. But how do you think, or what's the best way for directors of player development now to still
Ooh.
operate within that scope of what the game has turned into?
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked this. I'm gonna go back real quick before I answer this question. I want to go back to the story. You mentioned a great story of Kerry Champion. So when I was at Baylor, we had a player, and so I was in charge of kind of our detention, for lack of a better word. So I call him. He missed the class. I call him. Hey man, you got blah 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 on Saturday. He takes off. Blah bleep bleep blah. So I let him get it out, and I say, hey, man, I know you're not talking to me, because we're not gonna do that. But I said, what are you frustrated about? So then he lets off stuff. Man, it feel like they trying to trap me. I be trying to do right. And I said, okay, cool. Did you miss the class? Yes or no? I missed the class. Cool. So they're not trapping you. You missed something. So just come on Saturday, and then we will work this out. I know you're trying to change it, blah, blah, blah. I get where you're coming from. But don't take off on people like that, because the wrong person will then give you more, right? Cool. So anyway, that goes on. Me and him build a relationship. I see him. They keep saying, he's never going to get it. But I see him doing little things. He's showing up now. He's showing up to academics on time. And then the next week, 5 minutes early. And then the next week, this, right? And so he's a good athlete, like a freak athlete, freak defensive line athlete. I mean, freak athlete. Like, holy smokes, right? Like 6'7", 280, running with the receivers. Some of the receivers can't run with him, right? So anyway, we go to a game. Like you said, you notice some things. He wanted to start. He was better than the guy that was in front of him. But once again, you know how it is, man. like if you can't line up or you can't whatever, and if your temperament with the right, you know what I'm saying? So he's going to his first game. We're playing Kansas State. And I go over there and I'm like, I just go walk up to him before the game. I can see he kind of had some jitters. Say, man, you definitely multiple sacks this game. And he just looks me in my eyes like, I'm like, yeah, multiple sacks. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's easy work. Multiple sacks. And so he's like, yeah. All right. So he dabs me up, gives me like, that football hug or shoulder pad. You're like, bro, get your shoulder pad out of my throat. Right. You like, I think they forget how big they are, man. You be like, I'm a big dude, but I ain't, you 6'7". Your shoulder blade is about to cut my nose off, right? Dude goes out there, has like 2.5 sacks in the first half. And the coach is like, whoa. And he just looked at me and I just gave him the wink. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, let your coaches, you know what I'm saying? So I love that part of it. Now, going back to your question, this is pretty interesting because one thing I love, you know this, Drew, like we get to meet a lot of people in player development. Going back to what you said, I always wanted to build a community, and thankfully we do have a community now. And so I get to talk. One thing I've been doing more recently is talking to people in the role. I haven't done that probably the last year, but I'm making some time to talk to people in the role. And so I was talking to a young lady who works at Gonzaga, and which I was pretty interested in. They don't have a football team. So I'm like, how do you do? Is it different? Whatever. So she says, hey, and she brought up a really good deal, which will be a podcast episode coming up soon. She's like, how do you stay transformational in such a transactional era of athletics? And I was like, dang, that's really, really good. And I think it's 3 things, right? No matter if I got you here for a 6-month lease, like you said, right? You here for 6 months, right? Awesome. There's 3 questions we have to ask these guys. There's 3 things we want them to know, or we should put our program and our conversation with, all that. Number 1, let's find out who you are as a person. Who are you as a person, right? Number 2, let's help you see the impact you can have on others. So, and then number 3, what are you interested in? Like, let's kind of get something going towards a career. Now, that's the basis of Beyond the Field, personal wellness, community impact, and career development. But if you think about people's lives, that's really, in a sense, the foundation, not the foundation of life. We don't want to go that deep. But when people make action, I should probably say that. Or, actions in people's life. Find out who the person is. Here's the impact you can make on others. And then what are you interested in? Where could this go career-wise? And so that's what I would do, because it's so transactional, man. It's like 6 months. I couldn't imagine, right? And so I would focus not necessarily on programming, but they got to answer those 3 questions. Before you leave, if you come in my office and say, hey, Ed Jones, I'm about to transfer to Pueblo State, right? I'm about to transfer to whatever, right? Bojangles University. Well, here's the deal. Like, we need to know who you are before you head there. What impact do you want to make? And then what interest do you have, so you can see if that aligns where you're going. And so to answer your question, I think that's how you stay transformational in such a transactional aspect, is like, what are the transformative questions you could ask a person? Who do you want to be as a person? What's the impact you want to have on others? And what are you interested in that can help towards your career?
Man, thank you for sharing that story. We could probably, honestly, make a podcast about just all the player stories and interactions that we've had. And like you said before, it's something that doesn't pop up qualitatively, what you do as a director of player development. Like you said, you're sitting here telling people, hey, you need to come to this networking event. You need to come to this workshop. And like you said, the people that really need it don't come, or they don't see any use for it. But you're trying to get them ready for after here, because you're like, all right, bro, you haven't played it down since you've been here. You're a senior right now. Like, the life is going to come, but you just hope they get it at some point. And then I think the best thing, or one of the greatest compliments that we can say, and I'll ask you in a second, you can say yours, but is when people call you back, or when they come back on campus, and then you standing next to them one time and they shake your hand and like, hey man, thank you for the stuff that you did when I was in school, man. I know I was a knucklehead, or I know I wasn't trying to come, but I understand, and I see what you're trying to do for me. What's your feeling on that?
It's awesome. Like, so when I went, like you said, the stories that they remember. So when I went to Duke, I had a chance to talk to Duke. Shout out to John Battle. That's your guy, John Battle. My guy, JB. JB got, man, he's a great storyteller, man. He be telling, man, a great story. I love storytellers, man. Like, you could talk. JB will tell you stories about 110s and you just crying, right? But anyway, so while we were there, Kari Dotson is a good friend of JB through Alex Myers. Both of them played for me at Houston. And so Kari was one of those guys who, he got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got it. I'm gonna be there. We're gonna help, whatever. But his dad played in the NFL for with the Packers, a Super Bowl champion on other defensive ends outside of Reggie White. So he had I think his grandfather played in the NFL too, but they also did a lot of great stuff outside of just playing. So he understood it. But I think we were sitting there and we were laughing, and John was like, "Man, tell us some stories about Ed, like when Ed was director of player development." And I'm sitting there like, now what does Cargo say? Because he kind of had it all straight. But he brought up my car. He's like, so we went to this event. He said, Ed gets like 4 of us. And you know how big college football players are, right? So it's 4 of us, and we're going to an elementary school. And so they're looking for what we're going to get into. And he's like, Ed pulls up in a 2007 Toyota Corolla. I'm like, all right, guys, let's go. And I'm like, we go. Hey, they kind of like, hey, you know, I'm like, bro, we going, we got to go. And so he was laughing, like, but hearing him laugh, he just talked about like, man, it was funny, but man, we appreciate everything you did for the community. But it was funny that he remembered, like, literally remembered the Corolla, remembered everything about the car. And it's just like stories like that you don't think about the impressions. Like, it was funny, I ain't gonna lie, but he remembers that we went somewhere. He remembers that I stuffed them in there no matter what, and we all went and they had an impact. And they joked about it, but they also had an impact. And so, man, like you said, man, those stories of guys shaking your hand, those stories of, man, I saw, I got this. Somebody hit me up on, this is crazy. Somebody hit me up on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago. When I was at KU, we were recruiting him, but he ended up going to Kansas State. And he said, hey, you don't know me, you don't remember me, but you gave a presentation, a player development presentation in 2019, and you did such an incredible job with people. He said, my mom was so impressed. She just never forget that. And his mom is the deputy athletic director for a university, right? And so it's just like stuff like that where, you know how it is, man. It's not qualitative. Nobody's going to sit here and say, take a test of not quantitative. Nobody's going to say, yeah, Ed Jones has a 96% approval rate, but you make different seeds. Like some kid we recruited, he didn't even spend time with me. He spent a recruiting trip, maybe a couple games. You know how it is. You probably see a kid 4 or 5 times and they go to another university. So yeah, the stories are awesome. They always come at the right time too. They always come at the right time. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Like I said, we can sit here and talk about player development all day, and I'm over here having stories that pop back in my head because those recruiting visits are, you know what I mean? Like, it's so funny, and I think you talked about it. Like, there's some schools that use player development, and they're just chasing you around the class and getting you to and from class and making you sure you're up in the morning and bringing you to the facility. Like, I know programs like that, and I know people like that. And there's other programs where your director of player development actually gets to help develop you in ways that you can't imagine. For me, one thing I used to do for our recruiting trip, like I would spend like 20 or 30 minutes with the guys. They were trying to, you know, coaches sometimes are trying to have them in all these different meetings. You're with the weight staff, you're with the training staff, you're with your position coach, offensive coach is how we want to use you. And they started putting me in those presentations as well. And so I was like, man, how could I be different? And I was like, we see all this football stuff. They're going to be taking care of food, but what do I do? And I remember my meeting, it would be kind of jokey, but we talked about dress, we talked about books. And one thing I would do with them at the end is I would ask them who knows how to tie a tie. And then a lot of them, probably 80 or 90% didn't. And then what we would do is we would practice tying a tie. And I'll be like, all right, let's try to do this real quick and let's see if we can do it. And a lot of times it's funny because they're with their parents. And so, you know, sometimes they're with their dad and their dad looking at them like, come on, man, don't embarrass me.
Man, I taught you this, man. Come on, man. Come on, player.
Yeah. And then that's the rapport you build with the parents where they're like, man, Drew, and I'll tell them like, hey, yo, when they're going through problems or they want to find something out or internships, like, come holler at me. Like, I was like, I have the best job in the building. But as we get through that, we talked about the pandemic. We talked about how we met and with the things we built and the things you started building. I really felt that was the beginning of the inception of that you might have had to build the first virtual player development summit / conference. And so as we talk about that, man, so you do one of the very first player development spaces.
That's crazy.
Player development in the same world, in the same summit, in the same place to kind of meet, connect, network. What prompted the very first player development conference / summit?
Avoidance. No. So a lot of people kept hitting me up, and you know, you've been to AFCA, man. And so what I saw was, so when I was in the transition after I got fired at Houston, I knew I had an interview with Kansas, but my Tori Takel, who was at Texas, who's my man, I was her intern. We worked together at Houston and Kansas. So she was like, hey, Ed, I know you don't have a job. Come down to this DFO meeting. It'd be good for you to network with our DFOs. And so all these DFOs would sit in a room and they would just bounce stuff off the wall or whatever. So I'm like, that's sweet. So I go to AFCA. I know the guy I had spoke the year before. And so I go to the director of education, like, hey, it'd be great if people with player development got a room. And it got denied. He put it up the chain, but it got denied because they said, well, if we do it for player development people, we got to do it for dietitians. We got to do it for this. We got to do it for that. So I'm like, all right, cool. I see advantages in that, but you know, whatever. So I'm still like, we need, because it's a different, I went to N4A, which is student athlete development, academic advisors, and that is good. But player development is still your team facing. There's so many team facing deals that you have to do, right? So people are on the phone. I'm talking to a couple people, and the biggest one was Justice Jones. He kept saying, shout out to Justice Jones. He's with the Jets now. He was at Iowa State at the time. He's like, man, we need something. And I'm like, well, y'all figure it out. Call me. I would love to speak, right? So I'll never forget, he called me. I was in a Uber in New York, and he called me one time. He's like, bro, we really need to do this. Like, somebody has to do this. And I remember on the phone with him like, yeah, man, let me call you back. And I said in the taxi cab, like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Because at the end of the day, going back to what you said in pandemic, I know people, I'm probably the person that get people to show up, right? I'm a connector. My wife had been telling me that. She's like, hey, you're a connector. Like, live in the connection lane. Because I'm like, man, all these people want to call me. Ain't nobody, at the time I'm trying to do the side business, ain't nobody paying, blah, 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 right? She's like, but you're a connector, right? So I'm like, cool, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to throw it out there. Talk to my team. Shout out to Lauren King. She's been with me 3 years. But I was like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to do a Zoom. And if we got 25 speakers, if 30 people show up, it's a success. And so that's really where it started. I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, we can just do a Zoom. We'll do a long Zoom like we've done before, just keeping it safe. And then like 115 people paid and showed up. So I'm like, oh, snap. All right, cool. And so it's interesting because at my full-time job, until Beyond the Field becomes full-time, I do a lot of workshops and I talk about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And fixed mindset, a lot of people could talk about how fixed mindset is negative. I don't think it's always negative. It's definitely limiting. So we do that. It's a success. And people, am I on the right path? Am I supposed to tell you how we got to in person, or was I supposed to? Okay, all right, good. I'll be talking. I'm loquacious. That was
we good. Hey, like I said, we good, bro. This half your show for today.
But so everybody was like, no, we should have this in person. I'm like, absolutely not. Like I just pocketed some money, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's easy to do a Zoom. Like, we just sit there, whatever. So we do it again the next year, and we do a Zoom again. And we up the price to kind of, how do I say this in the most PC way? We up the price to make sure we're getting the right person to come. That's what it is. That's what it is. We up the price to make sure the right person's coming. So I'm thinking, okay, the price is up. If 45 people come, we're good. 85 people showed up. So I'm like, all right. So it was another success. And so people are like, all right, we got to do this in person. So I'm like, all right. So yeah, I'm like, you do two things well, you got to start changing, right? Because people probably won't show up again, virtually. And so I'm like, all right, I go on and I'm like, and this time the NFLPA, shout out to NFLPA, shout out to NFLPA. Someone that works there is like, hey, I got to catch myself. Somebody that worked there is like, hey, you can come to our facility for free. So I'm like, perfect. We'll be in DC, and this is how I nerd out. So I'm about to nerd out. When you look across the country at player development, most people or most programs that have it secured or better resource are on the East Coast, Southeast. So DC kind of makes it easy for everybody to make it there. The West Coast is there. The resources are catching up. I nerd out on this stuff. It's interesting. But I do 2 calls with them and I realize, I'm not going to be a priority. Like, they not going to worry about this till a month ahead, and nothing against them because they got to do what they got to do for the players. So I get it. Right. And so I'm like, all right, I got to make a decision. I'm like, all right, we're going to have it in Kansas City. I said it with my chest in my post, but while I was typing, I was like, we going to have it in, we're going to have it in Kansas. How do you spell Kansas? Kansas City, right? So I'm kind of, I'm like, I'm going to do it. Everybody like, yeah, man, you got it all planned. I'm like, brother, I don't know. And so I don't know where the venue is. I don't know sponsors. And like, man, I felt like I've been challenged, and we talk a lot. I've been challenging my faith. Like, because going through getting fired and everything, and then being lied on and not having a job and wanting to be in a role, like, I'll be praying, like, come on, God, like, what we doing? And I just would hear the word consistency, or people would be like, hey, just stay consistent, right? I just kept hearing it in my prayer, hearing it from people, random people, right? Just random people, like, hey, stay consistent. So I'm like, all right, let me just do this. So I walk into a room. There's a facility downtown Kansas City. I walk in. I tell the guy, I say, hey, man, this is a great facility. I saw it from my full-time job. I'm like, man, I could probably do something here. Crazy thought, right? Crazy thought. And I just kind of kept it. I just put it in the back of my brain. You know how it is in life. You're like, I could do something here. So anyway, I come back to him like, hey, man, like, I'm trying to have an event here next year in May. Like, what does the space look like? He's like, yeah. He's like, it's $25 an hour. I was like, oh, that's how much it costs? Oh, let me pay that right now. I'll pay it right now. You know what I'm saying? I got some funds from some books, And so his coworker was like right next to, he kind of behind him, like, and I'm like, bro, what? Now hold on, now you shaking your head. For you all listening, I'm shaking my head side to side. So he's shaking his head. He kind of doing the throat, like, nah, player, nah. So the guy walks away, and I'm like, bro. So he's like, nah, bro, like he might give you this facility for free. And I'm like, he's like, just be patient, don't say nothing. I'm like, all right, cool, appreciate it. So boom, dude gives me the facility for free. I'm like, cool. So the next thing, you got to ask the speaker. So I'm asking speakers. I'm like, and you know me, Drew, I'm getting straight to the point. Like, it's not going to be, I'm letting people know, hey, I want you to speak, but here's the deal. I ain't got no bread. I can't pay for a flight. I can't pay for a fee. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it in the buck, because some people give you the whole spiel and then you getting ready to get your stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can't pay you. Like, I'm not that type of person. Look, I'm telling you off the rip. So people showed up, then volunteers came, and then the ticket was there. And so it all worked out, but it was just a step after a step. That's why I tell people, just be consistent, start somewhere, right? So it was 2 virtual, and then we did it in person. It was 100 people in the room, Drew. That's crazy. Like I look at videos and I'd be like, man, sometimes I get emotional. Like, dang, 100 people in the room. And like literally as I'm getting off the stage, I go straight back into fixed mindset, because one of the speakers is like, hey, you need to have this in my city. I got all the resources. I'm like, no. I'm thinking to myself, no, we just did it in Kansas City. It's good. I know that I can get this facility again, but I did have to make the choice. We are going to another city, which I would tell you, I can't tell you all, but keep checking out. We're going to another city because why not, right? So that's how I got to there. It took a time, but the big thing for me is we had 4 goals. I think I'm gonna take one of the goals off. It was for people to grow, network, partner, and hire. The hire part is probably the hardest, so we'll probably stick with the grow, partner, network. And the thing that I love the most about the summit in person, the biggest takeaway I had personally, besides people meeting people in person, which is incredible, you can see community, is that even though people are there trying to get jobs, people trying to get, position wherever, it didn't feel like anybody was selfish, if that makes sense. Like, people were really connected, and we had the same goal, but I also want to meet you, get to know you, different things like that. So that was just, man, that was awesome.
Man, it's so funny because, I think what adds to the story, and if you guys are listening, you guys need to go check out Ed's content to really get the grasp of the whole situation, is where you went from, the end of 2021-ish,
Yeah.
from being fired to, to wondering what the next step was, to being angry. And we talked a lot, and I know we
Yeah,
shared these
absolutely.
feelings,
Absolutely.
but like, to being angry, to being upset, to wondering what's happening with life, questioning God, what we do a lot and pretty
Right.
often when things aren't going our way.
Right.
To being a person who launches something, who creates something, who takes it into year 3, from it being virtual to it being in person, and for you to tell that there was doubt in there, even with you, you're like, man, if we can just get as many people on the call as there are speakers, that's a success for me. And for that number to get blown out of the water, like, you continue to get surprised and amazed by what God is doing, but also by the work that you've put in to make everything go, and also the team around you. Because
Yeah.
let's be honest, you come up with the inception of it, but you have so many people that do input, so many people that are working behind the scenes. Shout out to everybody. You brought up Lauren Hawkins, who's done some great stuff with you and just around you, and the things that you guys are building. So shout out to your team and your staff. But that's where it hits really deep in the heart for me, because I sat back and we had conversations about it, and I said, man, just keep going, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I'm listening, because there's sometimes you got to listen to people, let them vent. You are
Yeah.
hurting,
Man,
like, you know what I mean? And we're real upfront about that, bro.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the thing people forget. When you work in player development, when you work in football, when you work in sports, a lot of the time you're attached to a certain coach or certain politics, and you're gonna end up getting fired just at some point in time during your career, just because,
Absolutely.
cool, we went on 12 this year, like, they got a clean house, like, or our kind of what we're talking about are things aren't aligning. What I'm working towards and what you guys are working towards as a head coach or a program aren't the same, so there's just no alignment there. But just seeing that journey, man, and I'm gonna try not to get emotional, but if some tears fall, they do.
Yeah.
Just being able to give you your flowers, man. Like, you created something, you've been genuine about it. You fell into your personality. You've been silly, goofy, funny. You've been sitting in front of that camera every week. You've gotten to 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, and that's one thing I don't
Yeah.
think people talk about. Like, it's
Yeah.
hard to sit in a room by yourself
Absolutely.
to talk to people that aren't really there, but and people that may or may not see this, but like you
Absolutely.
still have to talk like you have an audience, and you have to bring that energy and that flair and be you to
Every
get
time.
people to come
Yeah.
back. And people don't talk about that journey enough. So man, I just wanted to give you your flowers, man, just on
I
that whole
appreciate that.
situation and the point you're at now.
I appreciate you. Like it is not a small task. And everybody, I want to tell y'all about this. Man, you did this. You asked me for my address, man. You were one of the ones you reached out to me because, man, that was tough. Like when you had that logo, you are on my, and once again, as Drew said, I was bringing everybody together. So everybody was wanting to know me and all that. And then when I got fired, man, when I say immediately, like you would have thought I got canceled by the type of people who just nobody talked to me. You reached out to me, you sent me that. It's somewhere, I got to get it somewhere in my storage, but you sent me that card with all those encouraging deals. And I sat at my desk and did it, man, because I was trying to get jobs. And I found out at that point when you sent it, I found out they were lying on me. And I'm like, bruh, like, I got a kid on the way. If you don't want me to work there, that's fine. But man, you sending them encouraging letters, it helped me, man, because I thought I was gonna have to go to McLennan County Jail. I ain't gonna lie. I was checking the account, see how much I had to get out of here because I was gonna hurt someone. But nah, I joke, I kid, but no, man, it meant a lot. And then, like you said, the team, and one thing I like is I think it's an overall team, right? So the team that helped me with, the summit, but I think like when I was doing my 1,000 subscriber videos, like it really helped for people to show up weekly. It's because I knew somebody was on the other side of the video, right? I knew there were people. I knew that there were people that did have my back, and so I was like, I got to show up for them people that care. So I'm just thankful for the entire village. Thankful for you, man, because it was dark, man. I don't think a lot of people know how dark it was because a lot of people, you know how life is, man. Everybody sees social media and they see, oh, he went from Baylor to, oh, he's got 1,000 subscribers. That was, smooth peanut butter, right? That sucker was crunchy, chunky, whatever peanut butter you want to call it, man. Felt like I was eating a rock sandwich for 2.5 years, right? But thankfully, I'm here.
You got there, man. Nah, it's you got to show up and you got to support good people, Ed, and you are definitely that. And I talk about that a lot, man. Like you're in sports, it's even harder because there's people trying to position themselves and make
Yeah,
sure that when it's time for me to get a job or when that person becomes a director of player development somewhere, I
absolutely.
want to make sure I can slide in there or be a speaker there or do this. So there are so many people with ulterior motives. But when you meet really good people, man, you gotta water that, and especially not that many black people in the space, to be honest. Like
Man,
there might be a lot of black player development people,
right,
but you're still in the players are predominantly black, but you're still
right.
in a predominantly white institution
Absolutely.
or with the owner or something like that.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
and I'll be remiss if I didn't talk about this because I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
what was probably what made I'll ask it in two ways because I know you're gonna answer it however you want. What did you like most about the in-person player development summit,
Yeah.
and what made it so special?
I think the thing I enjoyed the most is like, it was just, I had so in the opening speech, one thing and you've heard me talk, me and you have had these conversations multiple times. One thing I tell a lot of people in this space is you have to let people know what you're doing. And a lot of people don't want to do it, right? I mean, I think it's in the Bible, let do something with your left hand. I know what your right hand is doing. And so a lot of people live that, let others speak highly about you. And I totally get that. I agree with that. But we are in a different reality as well. So we're talking about livelihood. And it's not, hey, look at me. This is what we did for the players and this is what you can do. So that's why I tell people, I challenge, why don't you just share what you're doing for other people, right? If you don't want it to be about you. And so at one point I said, you know what, I'm gonna challenge everybody. I said, all right, how many people in here knew me when I was in the role at Baylor, right? Or who knew me from the role? And it's like 7, 8 people max, right? And I literally know who they are. I can tell who lying because I know the people. Jess Gray knew me, Lauren knew me, Dr. Lacey knew me. Alexander, you know what I'm saying? Like most people knew me, right? Not most, excuse me, a few. And then I said, well, how many people have you met me because of LinkedIn, YouTube, and then all these arms go up in the room? And so it was a realization of showing up. Like this was a realization of showing up. Like these people came, paid money that not only helped the company, helped this event happen, but also helped my family, right? Because I showed up the late nights. Like you said, you know how it is, man. 1, 2 in the morning when you don't feel like doing it, right? Like you just got to do it. It's a lot of podcast episodes. I'll be smiling. Shout out to Drew, y'all. He told me, because I'll be reading. He's like, man, you got to let your personality drop. Like, I'm like, all right, let me let my personality drop. So appreciate you because that took it to the next level. Just like delivery, talking fast, being slow, pauses. I watch this. I want y'all to think about that. Imagine being in a moment that you created. Hey, Drew taught me that one. All right, so it was just cool seeing everybody there, and it was just like I got to see a lot of times in life we don't get to see the seeds we planted. So I got to see literally people there because of these seeds I planted. And then what was the second question?
It was just what was their favorite thing about it, or what was the most special moment?
The most special moment. They got me, man. They got me. Two moments. They got me. The first moment was, the first moment was they were passing around a book, and so people wrote how they felt about me. So I'm literally over there. I'm kind of talking to somebody. They're like, "Where's Ed?" And I'm like, "Why are they calling my name?" Like, I'm thinking something's wrong. I'm like, no, nothing could go wrong. Like, we got to get this done right. I'm just in production mode, right? And so they called me up, and Faith Gurton, who is someone who she was in my cohort. I literally tried to make Faith not get in the cohort. She got in the cohort, and now she's leading student athlete development in Miami of Ohio in 2 years. Crazy story. She's like, "Hey, Ed, a lot of people wrote this book and come up there." And I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I held that one in. The tears was rolling up because she was like, "I know you're not with athletes, but I got 250 athletes. Rochelle, how many athletes you got?" Rochelle's like, "I got 300 athletes." So-and-so, how many athletes you got? "I got 400 athletes." So-and-so, how many athletes you got? Boom, boom, boom. She's like, "Ed, you don't have a team, but you're affecting all athletics." And then they wrote all these letters, these notes to me. I was like, I ain't reading them right now because I'm gonna be in Splash Town over there, man. I'm in on an ugly cry. That was an awesome moment. And then number two, which is a crazy moment. So we're at the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So this whole let me give you a whole Saturday morning. So we found out that 70 to 80% of people had never been to Kansas City. So we wanted this to be okay, if y'all haven't been here, let's do something. So we were like, well, let's go to Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. So I go to Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, which the American Jazz Museum is here as well. Some people don't know, but Negro Leagues Baseball Museum is 18th and Vine. It's in the historic, Black area of Kansas City. This is where the Duke Ellingtons, Langston, all the people came. The Jackie Robinsons, the Willie May. Like, this is the spot. This is the hub, right? So we show up there, and we're just going to go on the tour. I was like hoping that Mr. Bob Kendrick, the president of Negro Leagues, would be there to give a tour. So he shows up through the door. He's on crutches because he had knee surgery. I walk up to him. I say, "Hey, Mr. Kendrick, you don't know me. My name's Ed Jones. It's Beyond the Field." I said, "I got a group with me. 70 to 80% of these people have never been to Kansas City. We're excited." I said, "If you could just give a welcome, whatever, we'd be great." He talked to us for 15 minutes and then walked them around on a tour. Like Bob Kendrick, who you can hear on MLB The Show, is walking the people on a tour. Then while we were talking, I was talking to somebody. They had this sweet jersey, like with all the Negro Leagues teams on the back. And this guy, shout out to Derek Mitchell. Derek Mitchell, like, "Hey, you need to buy it." I was like, "Man, I gotta, these. I've been paying because I putting an event on in person. It's some costs that I did not think about." So I'm like, "Hey, I'm out of budget." Like, he's like, "You need to buy it." I'm like, "Nah, man, you need to buy it." I'm like, "Nah, man." He's like, and then somebody else like, "Yeah, you need to buy it." So I'm like, "Nah, I ain't gonna do it." So while I was doing that, somebody was standing there listening to this. And so when I was walking out the gift shop, I saw them buying it. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. He bought the jersey. He liked the jersey." So then we get there and we finished. It's the last day of the deal. They bring me up, and I thought he's buying a jersey for himself. He bought the jersey for me because he heard me say that. So it's just those moments, man. Like just people appreciating you. Like that feels good. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like that feels good. So that's what I enjoy the most.
Bro, I would have lost it with those two, those two forms of love because, I think with you losing that job a couple years ago, and then also just it restores your faith in humanity and people. Absolutely. And not saying there's great people out there and there's not so great people out there, but just to know that the work you've put in that people notice, and I mean, and those are just the small interactions I like where it's a small argument over here about how you're not gonna buy something and somebody hears it and they're like, "Bet." Let me show him how much we appreciate him. And then, so just last thing when it comes to the Beyond the Field, where do you see Beyond the Field going in the next year or two?
I've been asked this before, and what I'm trying to build personally, in 2 years, I want to, and some of you all on my personal YouTube channel, I have like this, I don't want to call it documentary, but like I got to do a video today, like this path to $1 million, right? Company. I want to do it full time. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to be able to sit here and I do content or I do this, or I'm doing a workshop or I'm meeting with people or I'm reaching out like full time. Like, and I actually did this. Shout out to ChatGPT. Mondays is content. Tuesdays is reaching out. Wednesday sales, like just doing the whole, like the gamut. I want to hire a couple people, but the big thing is I have like this, and it's funny. I was talking to my daughters about this, so it's always good to just say stuff out loud. Like there's this, you know how those grocery stores have suites, and next to a big grocery store, there's this little corner office. And I told my girls, it's like, Daddy's gonna buy that. That's gonna be that. So then I drove by my 5-year-old. She's like, look, Daddy, there's where your office is gonna be. So in 2 years, we're making enough money to hire people. And then the impact I want to make is youth sports, high school sports, college, pros, other areas around the world. So I want this to be the place that people come to, like this Kansas City, wherever I'm located, that spot, people come, get what they want. I meant to send you a voice message about this. Like somebody's come from Perth, Australia next month to meet with me. And so like that's where I want to be. But in 2 years, to make it short, it's got to make money, right? I want to continue to make content, but do workshops, go around, hire people. And hopefully when I was at Duke speaking, I was like, it'd be pretty cool to have people on my staff, teach them to be on the field deal, and then they can go out and speak to different programs and consult with different programs. So that's where we want to be.
You gonna get there, dog.
Hey.
Y'all hear us acting crazy on here. This is how I act like 90% of the time. When I hop on the podcast, I'm professional. But if you put me up with my boy and he's doing great things and we talking about things that we love, player development, helping people, TV shows, movies, whatever, Ollie Pops, whatever you want to start talking about, Crossco Chronicles, we just get out of line.
Man, if they had access to them voice memos, man.
I'd be in jail somewhere. You be cool. I'd be in jail somewhere. But we gonna keep rolling, man, because as we talk about that, and I want to ask you where it was in the next year or two. So if you're out there, you need player development. If you're thinking about getting into player development, this is the dude right here to contact. He's put so much stuff out there that low key, you should be able to listen and to go through all that stuff and be cool to start your journey. But if you really want to dig in, like if you really want to be great, if you want to be in player development for the long run, if you want to walk in prepared with a lot of the stuff that he does with cohorts, with one-on-one, with consulting, holla at him. We're gonna drop his information here. It'll be in the show notes, so you got it as well. And I know you are a big reader, just like me. You love books. You got a very special book right behind you. When it comes to reading, when it comes to books, tell us about the book. I ain't even going. You ain't even.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So the player development guide. One thing Drew mentioned, he just said it. Like some of you all don't even have to get to me to start a program. So I understand people go through seasons of life. When I ain't have a job, it would have been tough to buy anything, right? So the YouTube channel, you can definitely start a program. The player development guide is the next level. This book here has, over 10 years of just experience, and it you can find it on Amazon, and it's gonna be a new cover coming out here soon. Little adjustment. Shout out to George Majid. But this player development guide. I mean, it's pretty simple. You're a coach, you're an athletic director, you're a parent. You want to know more about this player development stuff. You want your athlete to be developed off the field. This is what you need. All right, now back to your question about books, other books.
It's love because we, like you said, we've connected on books. You've sent me some book recs. I've sent you some book recs. I got a couple back here on the shelf. When it comes to, and I want to make sure it's still, the people that are listening, if you're interested in player development, but like the people because you're an entrepreneur, you're a creator, the things you've been putting together over the last couple of years, I've seen it. I've seen growth in everything. And you're the person that kind of lit the fire under me to just do more, to put it out, to create. As an entrepreneur and creator, what are some book recommendations you have for some people out there?
Yeah. So my books are actually over there. I used to have them behind me. I need to put them back behind me. Number one, you sent it to me, or I sent it to you the other day. The Small Business. Do you mind if I grab those books? All right. Sorry, y'all. Y'all gonna hear me. If I trip and fall, I'm gonna get up. Sorry, I'm just clumsy. All right, let me get these books. All right. This is a good one. This is a good one. Yeah, this is a good one. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. This is a good one. Yeah, this is a good one as well. I got too many of them. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one as well. I'm coming back, Drew, I promise. This is a good one. Yeah, okay, I'm going to start with these. Oh, and here's two more. Yeah. All right. I'm back, Drew. All right. So I'm gonna go through them real quick and then tell you why. All right, Atomic Habits. If you haven't read this one, This is good. Just talk about being 1% better. If you don't get anything about it, being 1% better. So this was really you helped me with this, Drew. Like with the hey man, put your feet on the floor. I'll never forget when you told me that. It was the first player development summit. I was rocking side to side of my chair, and you sent me, man. If you don't sit your feet on the floor and sit still, right? But that's 1% better. The pause. This is why I like it. James Clear, 1% better. This is one we read together. I gotta come on your channel. I forget we did.
We will. We're gonna get to it.
Yeah. Feel good productivity is from Ali Abdaal. It kind of takes away the grind culture, if that makes sense. Like, oh, you just gotta put in this, and it just helps you like, hey, I could feel good and be productive, right? So that's another one that can help those entrepreneurs. Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. He's kind of taken off here on social media, but this is a really good book. He has 5 different steps to become a value person in your industry. This is a new one, sponsor magnet, because we got to get sponsored, right? But I read this book and literally I read I haven't even finished it, but I read like the first half of this book and ended up getting like $7,000 in sponsorships just from communicating correctly. Story Brand, classic. Drew, you said this to me. Classic, man. This is Donald Miller. He's got a great 30-minute video about it on YouTube. The Culture Code, I like this one. This is by Daniel Coyle. He broke down a lot of different cultures and how you can lead. So this is something I got to reread because as Beyond the Field grows, I got to lead. At Your Best by Carey Nieuwhof. It talks about your zones, knowing when you're in your zones of productivity and staying in those and calculating those things. That was good. This is one I just sent to Drew, How to Grow Your Small Business by Donald Miller. This is one of the best business books I've ever read. I just got to apply it. I'd probably be a multimillionaire if I applied it. And then lastly, this book, Range, is a really, really good book. So this talks about why generalists triumph in a specialized world. So it talks about just having different hobbies and how people who don't just specialize are really, really good at what they do. And so this is good for me because I would always hear all the time, you everywhere. Why your mind everywhere? Because I'm a generalist. All right. So those are the books there. Sorry, I know I went through the whole gamut, but that would help people in different phases that they're at.
I think one reason that we really get along, like I think there are a lot of things that connect, but you're a lifelong learner. You're always trying to develop. You're always trying to grow. You're always trying to be better at what you're doing, no matter what that is. And you don't have the excuse of like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Like you're going to go find a book. You're going to find a video. You sent me so many books, videos. Like I said, you're on LinkedIn. You're on IG. You started doing your Substack. Like I'm over here. I know I'm not doing enough, man. I'm also just like, you've had me say the F it mindset where I'm like, all right, you don't know what man, just post something. Like post something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's why I think that's why we rock together so well, is because even as you go grab all these books, a couple of them I have, a couple of them I don't. But everything you're doing and you're talking about right now, a lot of that goes back into your business. It goes back into your productivity and how you can be the best for all the stuff that you're doing. Being a leader, you're like, if I'm going to have my business, I want to be a good leader too. Like you have all these different facets that you're hitting. And so I think that's one real reason we connect, man. It's because I'm like, I look at you, I look up to you. I don't think you know that. I look up to you and I'm like, what can I do more? What can I do more today to be like Ed Jones? And
man, I'm only 22 years old, man. Dang. No, I appreciate that. You know what's interesting about that, Drew? I just realized, when I look at my bookshelf, and this is something me and you have talked about, right? And this is one reason why I'm like, let me just keep going, right? But so all these books are, let's keep it a buck, white men, right? And so it's like, man, I always think when I read these books, they are good books. Don't get me wrong. Oh, well, Ali Abdaal's not white, but men, right? People who aren't black. Let's just keep it a buck, right? But I always think like, man, now this information is good, but I always think like, man, like, we got to know this stuff, right? And so for me, I want to, because then I look at what do they do? They all have YouTube channels. They all have newsletters. They all have, of course, they all have a book. And so I was like, you know what? We got good information as well. I've met people in my life who can give me game, but, and it's a lot. I'm not telling people everybody got to be an author because that, that's a path that everybody doesn't have to take. But I love that you're sharing, that you're creating content, you're creating a podcast, that you're sharing your knowledge. Because I am challenging myself to find more Black creators when I'm talking about different things, but sometimes in certain areas you cannot find. But we are getting out there. So, so I appreciate you and all you do because it's like, man, yes, another brother, yes, give that knowledge. Come on,
let's take a rent 'em spoons.
Rent 'em spoons.
We go, hey, so we can drop lies all day, but that
Man,
rhythm spoons, I send Ed that maybe once a month, and then I'll
man,
also send him the Sharon Moore clip, a
man,
little picture of
Pride.
him.
Oh,
Yeah, just a little inside joke with us,
right.
man. But
He got the
I,
good old setup.
I've taken up a lot of your time, but there's one big thing we still need to
Yeah.
get into, and I don't know when everybody will hear this, but Micah Parsons got traded to the Packers yesterday, so Jerry Jones let him go. And he's got 2 first-round picks for him and another player, but those 2 first-round picks won't be Micah Parsons at any point in time during their career. I'm for sure of it.
Yeah.
We just want to talk. Me and Ed talk a lot of football. There's times that I know, for me, especially with the work we do, we work with schools, we work with players, so it's a kind of a sticky topic to get into. Don't want to step on any toes or mess up any future business. But man, what do you think about Jerry Jones and this Micah Parsons trade?
I, it's and it's interesting because Jerry Jones is over. Oh, I don't want to say overpaid, but because players get their money. But if he handles the Dak situation, the CD, if he pays these guys when they first bring it up, he saves so much money. And we both know you played in the league. You know Jerry loves the attention on the Cowboys. Now I didn't think it was going to get to this. I thought this was another. Oh, he's going to hold him out. He's going to pay him whatever he wants, whatever he just likes the attention. But I think it changed because when you hear what Jerry Jones said and the facts from both sides, it's like he did, and this is important for leadership. You got to change your time. So I heard him talking to Michael Irvin. He said, Michael, when you need your contract, you came and talked to me one-on-one. Now that was the 1990s, right? You're not talking to no athlete in 2025 without talking to today agent. That's just, I mean, you can't even do that at the college level. You know what I'm saying? So, and he was like, no, I'm not talking to the agent. And Michael's like, no, I want you to talk to the person who represents me. Because of course, a player, nothing wrong. Drew, you know how it is, man. You'll go in there, hey, all right, 40.5, that sounds good. But your agent's like, no. It's something out there, right? So I think it's the pride. And I really, truly feel it's just sad, man. It's sad. I was watching SVP last night. The Cowboys are the only NFC team that hadn't been in the conference championship since 1996. The only. So every other team in the NFC, every other team, which is crazy, has played in the conference championship since they won their last Super Bowl, whatever. And it's just the modern delivery of I'm gonna do it my way because I got the money and this is how it's always worked. And it's just showing us a new time. It's a new time because these players can make money without you, right? That's why I personally think, and I'm gonna get back to Michael, but that's why I think personally, I think the NFL might actually, when you get ready to CBA, they might actually be able to actually get all the players to agree, like, hey, let's hold out or let's not play, right? Because these players can make money so many, and a lot of them are coming in with money, so it's not the contract money, but it's enough to where in the 80s, like, I need this job, right? So I think it's sad, man. I think it's sad on many levels. I feel bad for Dallas fans. Like, you watch 26-year-old generational talents get traded for something that could have been taken care of. I think there's this owner aspect. Me and you have talked about this where owners like, no, we're going to put our foot down. Like this, we ain't going to let it. And to an extent, I understand not wanting the players to have all the control. And I understand players like, no, we need a little more control as well. But it's just, to me, it's really sad. It didn't have to get there, right? It didn't have to get there. And it's just the aspect you hear Jerry Jones presser. And and I love what Marcus Spears said. We talking about Michael Parsons like he Ed Jones, who just had a breakout season, right? Like, we need to stop the run. That guy he had 52.5 sacks in 4 years. I don't think he played 6 games this year. The only other person to do it is Reggie White. Like, that's a generational talent. So if he does the same exact thing for the next 4 years, and then 4 years after that, he's going to have over 150 sacks. That's crazy to think about. In 12 years? But anyway, it's sad, man. He got paid. Shout out to the Packers. I didn't think they was going to do it because the Packers are very, they drafted Matthew Golden in the first round. Like it's going to be an interesting season. It was already kind of wide open to me who could win it, but it's just, I don't know, man. I laugh because, and I feel bad. Like, once again, we're not trying to step on anybody's toes, but what Jerry Jones has done because of pride, man, has just set back not only the franchise, but the players. Like, imagine being in that locker room and you like, we let Michael go. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if I'm Ed Jones and I just signed here as a free agent or I'm on my contract year and I know I'm going to get 8 sacks because he's going to get double teamed. So I got a chance to get 8 and I'm going to get paid either here or somewhere else. And now he gone. And now I'm like, man, I really gotta go out here and get 8. But you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. Or imagine the defense coordinator, Matt Eberflus comes. He's like, I got Michael Parsons. You do not, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like
You done built a whole scheme around that.
whole scheme, man. Like it's that's where it all starts at the top, and that's when you do not have an understanding of everything that goes. And it's sad, man. I heard somebody say today when Jerry Jones bought the team, they said, "What do you want to do?" He's like, "I want Tex Schramm's job." So he's always wanted to build the team, and yeah, man. What are your thoughts? Sorry.
Man, no, you're good, man. And it's funny when you in speaking about it in terms of where you don't want to speak about what everybody else is talking about, but say, just like you said, you have other players on the team who aren't that as popular as Mike or whatever it might be, but then you're like, what does that do with free agents that come in and guys that know like they're trying to get paid or they're trying to put up big numbers to get paid? Then they got to be cautious because they know that might not happen here. Like they're going to have to fight and scratch and claw and delegate. I was going to say delegate for their bread and their money. And I'm going to have to jump through all these hoops. And like you said, Jerry loves attention. And so that might be a little bit of it. Yeah. But also it's disrespectful when all your best players have always had to fight to get paid.
Absolutely.
How does that make other people want to come there? It doesn't. Like, how do you talking about was it Saquon that he didn't want to sign last year or something like that he didn't want to go out there and get him? And good for Saquon. He went with the Eagles. He balled last year. He won his first Super Bowl, which probably might be first of many, but you never know when you're going to come.
Right.
But it's the antithesis for me of an owner talking like that they can go out there and do the same stuff that all these players are doing at a high level. And that's what makes me laugh because it's like, I know you're the owner. I know this is your team. Right. And I watched the first couple episodes of the Dallas Cowboys thing on Netflix. And so like when he came in and he did save the franchise and what is worth then versus what is worth now, he's grown it exponentially.
Absolutely.
But you got so many people, a lot of Cowboys fans and Mavericks fans are going to be, and he didn't do the Mavericks,
but
he did. A lot of people are going to be mad for a while. He's going to say he did. We call Jerry for advice. But like you said, glad Micah got paid, generational talent. Like I said, the 2 first-round picks you got, no matter what you're going to do with them, they're not going to turn into the player that Micah Parsons is or is going to be. Right. And so, you know what I mean? This is probably the trade that the Lakers should have, the Mavericks should have been able to get for Luka.
Right.
But as far as the NFL, like we won't be able to see what the outcome of this is for 5 or 10 years. And so that's 5 or 10 years of conversation.
Yeah.
And I know Jerry is to the point where I'm not going to say how long he has to live, but I know he wants to get back to the Super Bowl. He's made his impact on his team, but also the impact is, like you said, y'all ain't been to a conference championship since 96.
96. That's crazy. Every other team in the conference has been. Every other team. And then to your point, I think so one thing he said is he's like, we go get a player right now. We got 2 first-round picks. Ain't nobody taking them first-round picks. The Packers going to the conference championship. Like, I don't want no 30s. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. And then Kenny Clark is a great player. 10-year vet, great player. But you don't get a rusher back. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to stop the run. He's a great player. I mean, really, really good player. I think, did he play at UCLA? I know he's from the West Coast.
But he did.
He did. Yeah. Great player. And it's just like, but I feel bad for him because it's like, it don't matter what he do, like
you're connected and tied to that trade forever. So even if you come in to be a good player, you were the person that came over in the Micah trade. Like you were the person that swapped over. So yeah, that's how I feel about it, man. And it's one of them things. Like I said, Jerry loves attention, and we're going to be talking about this for years to come, and this will be a storyline through this whole season. Absolutely. And even considering a couple of years ago when the Packers came there and whooped on them what I mean?
The breaks. I was having a conversation. Tell me what you think about this. So somebody in my group he's a Cowboys fan, and he's like, well, Micah doesn't show up in the playoff games. I'm like, look, man, playoffs. He's like, he gets all the sacks against bad teams. If you get 52.5 against anybody in the NFL, you're good because everybody in the NFL can play. But you know this better than anybody. Playoff teams are playoff teams. When you get to the playoffs, it's about units. Like, it's units. He got to have somebody else, or they just going to double him. Like, we could block the rest of the guys. We going to double him. And I was telling the guy, like, it's about units when you get to the playoffs because they can play. They can play. Every good pass rusher, if a Super Bowl wins, they have a good pass rusher. It's because they got somebody else that they got to pay attention to, who might not get as many, but we got to pay attention to, right? TJ Watt got old buddy on the other side. Can't think of his name, right? So it's just like, The only other one is Myles Garrett. I don't know who they have, but then once again, he gets in the playoffs. You can just double. The Texans just slide to him. So it's just, man.
The crazy part, and you're dead right on that. When it's playoff time, that's when everything's on the line. But it's also like, all right, if we lose this game, it's not going to be because Micah Parsons beat us.
Absolutely
If
not.
we
Yeah.
lose this game, it's not going to be because Aaron Donald beat us. If we lose this game, it's not going to be because Myles Garrett beat us.
Absolutely.
We gonna give them one. All right, say out of 60, 70 plays, we're going to block them one-on-one maybe 5 times. Like, either way, we got tackle. You got to help from a tight end. You got the running back coming over the chip. We're going to screen. We're going to get the ball out quick. Like, we're going to, like, there are all these things when it comes to neutralizing a pass rusher. Right. They going to get theirs. Like, for a defensive end or somebody rushing 1 sack, like, Von Miller a couple years ago showed you how valuable it was. And it's funny, we're going to get off track here, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Von Miller, I would watch Broncos games, and Von Miller would jump off sides, like on a 3rd down, like trying to like jump the snap.
Yeah.
And it was, a 3rd and 10 or put it into a 2nd and 4, like something like that.
Yeah.
But like, I didn't, and this is the thing about being a superstar, I didn't see coaches like yelling at him or doing, like, you knew he was going to get you that sack or that forced fumble or something like that at one point in time. So like, you were like, okay, that's cool. He's trying to jump the snap. That's what he does. You're going to have great players going to get there once or twice, you know what I mean? But you're not about to come out here and have a Khalil Mack 5.5, 4.5 sack game on us and make us look crazy. So just thinking about that though, man, and you said it, Jerry said something. He said the Dallas Cowboys got better. No, you did not.
You did not.
You did not. You gave away an all-pro, a Pro Bowl player with 50 plus sacks, and you gonna sit here and say y'all got better? Nah, don't lie like that, bro.
Generational talent at 26. Don't lie to us. If you said, hey, we couldn't handle it, cool. If you want to go off the field, or hey, we wanted to bring a leader, all right, cool, whatever. Like, but the crazy thing is he's got so much to grow, not only as a person, but even as a player. He's still got some stuff in the bag he can figure out. But I'll tell you one thing, you turn on a Cowboys game, I can tell you who name you're going to hear, Micah Parsons, multiple times.
And he ain't even on the team.
Man. And it's just like, I literally will just, how you watch a game, you kind of doing something, you watch a game. I just look at 3rd downs on Cowboys games. It's like, oh, Micah Parsons with the sack. Oh, Micah Parsons with the strip fumble. Like, and then he said, we got to stop the run. Michael Parsons is really good against the run. And then to Bomani Jones's point, Bomani Jones said, he's like, what people don't forget is this guy's a really good off the ball linebacker. Just if he's not, he's a good linebacker. It's just like, man, you can do anything, right? So yeah, a positionless defensive player that you say, the guy got a sack. I've seen him get a sack at 7 positions: in, 3 tech, nose, middle, outside, nickelback. He got a sack from all those positions. And you're going to tell me, yeah, we're good. I couldn't get a sack from 1 position. So, like
I said, it's funny the value that, owners or people put on somebody. You like, y'all about to see the Packers, they good on offense. They've been great, getting great and trending and well in defenses too. So yeah, man. Anything else to say about Jerry, bro?
I used to joke about him, and I would say he literally is going to hold on until he can't hold on no more. Everybody should understand what I mean by that. And I thought it was a joke, but I honestly feel like he is legit gonna have, for lack of a better word, death grip on the Cowboys until it's just, man. And there's nothing they can do. I think that's the part. There's nothing in the bylaw. His son can't do nothing. Nobody can do anything, Yeah. So that sucks. It's just a leadership lessons, man. Imagine, all right, this all I got. Imagine if I read the book Boys Will Be Boys, and they said him and it might be in a documentary, somebody came to them at the bar and they said, hey, Jimmy Johnson, you built a team, and Jerry felt a certain type of way. Bro, they could have won 8 Super Bowls with that team. You had a quarterback, a running back, and a receiver. And in that NFL, all under 27, I think. You had an O-line. Nobody was 30. I think the oldest was 31. You had a defense with and then this is the crazy thing. This is the disrespectful thing to me. I can't wait till the Packers Cowboys game in a month. I'm gonna be sitting there, popcorn, everything. Mike gonna have 7.5 sacks. They keep saying to Herschel Walker, they're not even in the same stratosphere. Like Herschel Walker didn't do in the NFL anything remote or close to what Micah Parsons has done in 4 years. So yeah.
It's so funny when black people let out that it says a lot without you really being able
I'm not even a Cowboys fan. It's just I think it's more because you know how it is, man. Like money gives access to people, and they're like, this is just
Mhm.
not a smart decision. And
Yeah.
we've been around people, and I hate to say this, but I've been around people who in college or in recruiting meetings and stuff, you're like, this is idiotic. Like, why are we making
Yeah.
this? Like, literally, we passed on a player because a coach, he had not even a low SAT score. He had a lower SAT. It's going to take us a little bit to get him to school, but it wasn't bad. And I'm like, but he's got good grades in his class. That means what do you want him to do? When he watches film, you want him to regurgitate this stuff, right? All right. So we can see in his classroom, when he's taught, he does well. People have testing anxiety. People can't get the resources. And we passed on the kid all conference somewhere. And I just get frustrated with bad moves. That gets me, because it's like, so yeah.
I feel you. Last question before we get out of here, man.
Yeah.
What advice would you give those wanting to get into the player development space?
Yeah. Number one, I think I got a 5-step deal. I'm gonna try to do it off the top of my head. Sometimes I forget. Number one is understanding the role. You got to understand the role. We talked about it here. Everybody thinks it's, they see the photos, they see communities there. Because I'll ask you, I want to be in player development. I was like, what do you think player development is? You help the players figure this out. I'm like, that's a little more than that. That's like 10% of it. So knowing, researching the role. Number two is knowing your value. You got to know what value you could bring, because you never know when the interview is going to come, right? Tom Herman interviewed me while I was giving him a pitch about sophomores at our school. He was like, I don't want to interview you right now, right? So knowing the role, knowing your value, come up with a plan. You got to come up with a plan, right? What would I do? What would I do? And then you got to intentionally network, be intentional with it. And then you just got to get out there. You got to make it happen, right? You got to start where you are. That's a lot. Let me go. What's one step? I gave him 5 steps. Let me give him 1 step. No, let me give him 2. Know what the role is. And number 2, create impact where you are. Create impact where you are.
I appreciate you, Ed Jones. And how can everybody get in contact with you?
Yeah. All right. So if you want to email me, you can email me at edward@btfprogram.com. I'm on LinkedIn the most. It's just Edward Jones II. And then it's BTF_program on all socials. Yep, that's me.
Everything will be in the show notes for you guys to click on to check out. Once again, that is my good friend, my dog, my
Yes, I appreciate you, bro.
Ed Jones
Harry.
stopping in for this episode. Nieces and nephews, y'all be safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next week.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hey.